Hey everyone, I hope you are having a wonderful day so far. I am just dropping this special little clip into all the episodes. So, no matter what episode you're listening to, this is actually pretty current as of July 2024. I wanted to come on here and just say a big thank you to Earworthy because the Life Shift podcast was just named the best overall podcast of the year in the first Earworthy Independent Podcast Awards. And you've probably seen some articles written about the Life Shift podcast before, written by Earworthy. And now he is launching from his online publication, he is launching these yearly winners of independent podcast awards. And these are specifically for indie podcasters. We are those that wear all the hats. We create the show. Some people write the show. We're producers, sound engineers. We troubleshoot all the tech. We do any kind of research if we need to. We host the shows. We distribute the shows. We do all the things that relate to our shows because we love it. And it's so nice to see my name in a list with some other amazing podcasts like Multispective, which won Best Life Lessons Podcast. Salad with a Side of Fries won Best Health Podcast. Bippity Boppity Business won Best Business Advice Podcast. And there are so many more. And so I just want to come on here and say thank you to Earworthy for not only doing these awards every year and just honoring some of us indie podcasters that sometimes feel like we're just shouting into the void, but we're not. We're just doing what brings us joy, and hopefully through that work it brings other people joy. In my case, for the Life Shift, I hope that each episode finds the ears that needed to hear it the most so that they feel a little less alone in their circumstance. But also, Earworthy writes all these amazing publications pretty much weekly, every week, every weekday, I should say, where he writes on Blogger, Medium, Substack, Tumblr, Vocal, Many Stories, and for other places. And he really just highlights the independent podcasters. So thank you, Frank, for everything you do with Earworthy and for recognizing all of us in the first Earworthy Independent Podcast Awards. If you'd like to read more, please head to medium.com/EAR hyphen WORTHY. Thanks again and enjoy this episode. I'm Matt Gilhooly, and this is The Life Shift, candid conversations about the pivotal moments that change lives forever. Hello, my friend. I am here with Alex, and we are going to talk about his pivotal moment that changed everything in his life. And my guess is that it's something positive or a good thing that we can look back on.
I would think so.
Before we jump into that, actually, let's just talk about how we know each other. We met, I guess, we're thinking 2011.
Yes.
A little over 10 years ago. We both work at a local college here in the Orlando area. And we haven't seen each other in a long while because I guess there's like a pandemic of some sort going on. I'm not sure. Are you aware of that? Yeah.
If you believe what is being told to us, man. No, I've heard things are bad out there. I should clarify, I'm joking there. I don't want people thinking I'm that guy right off the bat.
Well, you do live in Florida, so there's that.
I know. You have to clarify.
Yeah, so we work together, or we have worked together for off and on for over 10 years, but we haven't seen each other in a while. But I don't think that matters. As we get older, we just kind of pick right back up.
It's just like, that guy again. There he is. I remember him from 10 years ago.
I'm not that old, guys. So we went to, way back when, we went to a couple concerts together. You're kind of the music guy, so we did that House of Blues, right?
Right. I'm trying to remember who we saw there. Do you remember who we saw?
They were really memorable.
Apparently so. Maybe it was a show that someone we know was putting on or something.
Yeah, it might have been some local bands.
You know, honestly, I more remember going to, was it Perkins afterwards? That was the highlight of my night.
Yeah, that's how good the concert was. So super
that's how
memorable.
good those breakfast potatoes are.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into it. I like to start off kind of what led you to the point that we're going to talk about today. So give us a little background about your childhood and where we're going today.
Yeah, sure. So I have to include that I'm half Pakistani and half white because I think that factors into pretty much everything else. Like my dad is from Pakistan, and my mom is her whole family's from Tennessee, like the Knoxville area. So right off the bat, it was like kind of a weird combination. And this is the 80s. So I've found that that's more common now. I find more people, besides my brother, I don't think I ever met a half Pakistani, half white person. There was one random kid, but that we came across one time, and he moved away. So that was unusual. And I grew up down south, and I think that kind of like informed everything. It was all part of it.
Whereabouts?
We lived in northern Alabama. There's a city up there called Huntsville. We lived just outside of Huntsville. Huntsville's kind of sprouted up, and it's quickly becoming the biggest city in Alabama. But we were there before that was happening. There's a lot of engineering, a lot of aerospace, missile defense, that kind of stuff there. It's this weird like oasis in the middle of northern Alabama.
Is that how your parents and you guys ended up there?
Yep. Both of them work in fields related to that stuff. So, the expectations were I could be a rocket scientist or I could be a doctor. And what we're going to talk about is how I went away from that and was like, how could I not make money? I'll become a musician. So
I think it's interesting that you brought up your background because, one, you're in southern United States, right? And you probably didn't see a lot of people, or you said you didn't see a lot of people that look like you. Were there any other notable differences or things that you noticed as a kid? I guess you wouldn't know differences, but things that felt different from being down south and being biracial?
Yeah, it was. There's a weird aspect of being biracial where you never fully feel like you fit in with either side of things. And I think the questions I got asked a lot because most of the people that I was around were predominantly white. I got a lot of questions about that, like what's it like to go to the mosque, or like what's your home life like, those kinds of things, but the thing people didn't really maybe realize or think about as much is that it was just as weird on the other side. Whenever we went to the mosque, or if we went to what my brother and I referred to as brown people functions, we had like our white family and our brown family. So whenever we went to brown people functions, we were the white kids there, and then we were the brown kids at school. So I do think honestly that's a big part of why I'm so close with my brother, because he's the only person that fully knew what that experience was like, and we kind of clung to each other in those moments.
Right.
We're like, no, everybody else is weird, we're not weird, they're weird. And here's why. And then I also think that's why I got drawn to playing music, is because it was a way to make friends where it didn't matter, the focus wasn't so much on, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I wasn't getting asked questions, or it wasn't, I didn't feel like I stuck out. It was just like a group of friends in a room, doing something together that we were excited about. So
Right. And you joked earlier, well, maybe it was a joke, that there was some sort of expectation on you for joining some engineering or something like that. Do you feel like that's because of your background?
Partially so, yeah. That definitely wasn't a joke. That was I was supposed to, either go to medical school or become an engineer. So I think most people with a foreign parent probably feel that that expectation, at least from certain countries, certain cultures. But it's definitely big in the Pakistani world. And my mom's family is a military family too. So there's also, do you have a backup plan? What's the structure like? And apart from all that, none of them, like no adults that I knew when I was younger knew anything about the entertainment industry. So I didn't have anywhere to go for real advice. And this was, I'm going to date us a little bit, but this was like before it was all readily available on the internet. So
right. Before there was internet.
Right. I actually think that's what pulled me into teaching a little bit, is that I was so desperate to find answers and couldn't find them anywhere, that I like to sort of at least share my experience so that maybe it'll help somebody out there.
Right. And was there an entertainment scene of some sort in Huntsville growing up?
Not at that point, but I will say once we once I probably hit like 14 or 15, we had this little explosion within Madison and Huntsville, our little city. We had this little music scene of a lot of kids I went to high school with and stuff started bands, and we just started doing DIY punk rock shows wherever we could. There was this place called the Park that was basically just a little mini, not even amusement park, but what do you like, where they have like bumper cars and mini golf and things like that, you know?
Right, like a fair, like a forever
Not
fair.
even a fair, but just like a small. Have you ever seen like a Southern Adventures or just something like that? Just like a little mini golf place, more or less. They had laser tag, locally owned, and a handful of us worked up there, and the management was awful. And so we just basically took over the place. It was like Lord of the Flies up in there. We're just like, making free food at the concession stand. And then we turned the laser tag room into a venue, started throwing shows there. We would play in the back of like redneck dive bars and stuff, just a bunch of like punk kids sneaking in the back while these crazy dudes are up front shooting pool. So we kind of started to develop one. And now from what I hear, there is actually kind of a thriving art scene in Huntsville. So it's nice to see that it kind of shot up in that area. It's
probably because of what you did.
Oh, I'm sure that there's some, I mean, not like us in particular, but yeah, there are definitely people from our scene that have gone on to sort of, one girl that used to come to all of our shows, she owns a record store there now that puts on shows, and it's part of this abandoned mill that they turned into like this thriving arts scene, there. So a lot of different vendors and things. So
have you always been musically inclined?
I don't know. I would say looking back, probably so. And now that I've, taken the intelligence types test and all that stuff and found that that's very much how I process the world, I think so. I've definitely been drawn to it.
What's your earliest memory of music?
Earliest memory of music is walking through some room somewhere at some house I lived at and seeing the Monkees on TV, which actually is the inspiration for this wallpaper in my room. It's like a multicolored thing. Is if you watch their performance of Daydream Believer, they're in what they called the Rainbow Room. And like it's I remember it stopping me dead in my tracks and just like freezing and looking at the TV. And I think there were two aspects of it. It was the music was one, and the fact that they were being funny really got my attention. I was like, oh, they're goofing off, and he's like putting his hand through the tambourine when he's supposed to be actually hitting it and things like that, So I was really drawn to that.
Do you think watching that inspired any moves to actually go into music, or do you think?
Yeah.
How do you think that did that?
I was chasing that high like that I got from the song, and I knew my mom was into some 60s bands. She was into the Monkees in particular, actually. So she had whatever that was, some tapes or something. And as soon as I got my hands on some music, I would just, that was it. Like I just nonstop listening to music for the rest of my life. Basically, I would go out on the back swing set in our backyard and made it a point to have my parents get me an extension cord so I could drag my boombox out there and just swing for hours listening to the same tape over and over again. You know what I mean? So it was always there.
Oh, I remember tapes.
Yeah.
Oh, could never find the song you wanted.
I know. Or you would listen to songs that you didn't like over and over until you finally did like them, or you wanted to, jump off the swing and land on your head.
That was the back, even in CDs. Well, maybe not CDs, maybe tapes. You spend, $15-$20 on a CD or a tape, and you're like, I have to like this for more than one song.
I was just talking about that because I love the band Blur, who do that song that goes woohoo that you hear right. Everywhere. And that was a CD that I bought that cost probably $20. And when I first got it, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but nothing else on that album sounds like that song. It's all like really experimental or much more like Britpop and things like that. And I remember just being like, what is this? But I had spent so much money on it, I was forced to keep listening to it. And then they became one of my favorite bands. It's one of my favorite albums. But, had that happened now, I probably would have heard the single, listened to one other track, and then just moved on and been like, no. But instead right. It changed my life. So
yeah, there were a lot more opportunities to have filler tracks back in the 90s.
Yeah. Or at least like, let stuff grow on you and things like that.
I hear that. I think about like Ace of Base's album.
Playing Nintendo or something.
Oh, dude. Talk about a tape that I played out, man. Yeah.
But there's like 2 good songs.
No, there's not. You take that back. That whole
The first time you listen.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing, though. When was the first time that you picked up an instrument, though, or kind of started making your own music?
I always fiddle with them, but yeah, when I hit about 10 years old, I must have shown, I must have been bugging my parents to get a guitar or something, because they eventually, we had this guitar that was at the house, but it it had like 2 strings on it, and neither one were tuned right. It had some like toy blocks that I had been playing with were stuck on the inside, and we couldn't get them out no matter how hard we like shook it and stuff. So I would just like bang on that thing all the time. But we eventually went to a pawn shop, and my dad's got that immigrant mentality, so he didn't want to spend money on it unless he was sure that I was going to buy it. So we went got a classical guitar at a pawn shop, and that's the first one that I really played for a good bit. But this is kind of what the issue was if you've never played for anyone who doesn't know anything about guitars, if you've never played a classical guitar, it's big, especially if you're a 10-year-old little brown kid who's like, we're notoriously scrawny until we like get older. So well, some of us. But yeah, I was like, for real, my arm was like, I was having to like arch my arm over the thing, and then also classical guitar strings are really thick. So it physically hurt my fingers to push down on it. And I was learning stuff like, what is it, Pachelbel's canon and, like classical little pieces and things like that. So I was like, I remember going, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is boring and it hurts and I'm not very good at it,
But did you persist, or what? Did you try to make it work, or was that something where you were just ready to give up and move on?
I think, I'm pretty lucky that I kept with it, because there are lots of other examples of that happening in my life and me getting very quickly overwhelmed and frustrated and just stopping if I can't get it right away. But for some reason, music's, that stuck with me. So I kept trying. I was taking lessons, kept going at it. And my brother's 4 years younger than me, and he got to an age where he was showing an interest in maybe playing an instrument. So I don't remember exactly what led to this, but some set of circumstances, it came to be that I was going to get an electric guitar and he was going to get a drum set so that we could play together. I think my parents did always like the fact that he and I actually enjoyed each other's company. We weren't really at each other's throats the way a lot of siblings are. So they encouraged that aspect of it. So he got a drum set, I got an electric guitar, and from that point on, it was like, all right, here we go. This is what I was lacking,
Yeah. I mean, good for your parents for buying a kid a drum set.
I know. But you looking back on that, I don't know how it didn't drive them insane. Like, because we were all the time in the garage or in a room upstairs or something. And not only that, we'd bring all our asshole friends over to clang on stuff too. And, I'm sure we smelled terrible.
Well, I mean, at least with an electric guitar, if you don't have an amp, right, you can't hear much. Or is that not true?
Yeah, that's true. But I had like a little practice amp, these little PV, like 10 watt. It sounded like garbage probably, but yeah, that's what I was playing through.
So why did you give up the classical guitar? Just because it was too big and you didn't like it? Or is there a reason you moved?
That's a pretty important takeaway too. I think, I don't have kids, but I've one thing that I've sort of learned in this situation that I try to even carry over into teaching some is that it really is important to like understand how that person, like prefers to learn or what's really clicking with their personality. Because it might just be in that particular case, it was just I had the wrong vessel. You know what I mean?
Right.
And once I got the right vessel, I was like, I was interested in music. I thought I was bad at it because they took. I guess I was 10 when this happened too. They had us take a test at school. And if you passed the music test, you got put into band, which was like marching band. And if you didn't, you had to take PE. And I was really wanting to end up in band because I was so nervous about having to like go in the locker room and stuff. I was like, I don't know, man.
Speaking of smelling.
Right. Yeah. Seriously. I just heard all these horror stories of like people getting put in trash cans and stuff. So I was just like scared of it. Scoliosis tests or whatever.
Oh yeah. And, I remember those.
Hey, this old man's going to run his finger up your back. Just stand there and take it.
It's not weird at all.
Right. So I was really wanting to go into band, but I failed that test. I'd never had, any training, so I didn't know the difference between a note being sharp or flat. I definitely don't have perfect pitch or anything either. So that was a real struggle. And then I was sad. But looking back, it's probably the best thing that happened to me, because then I ended up going to the guitar. I probably would have ended up on like a tuba or something else that had a
cello
gone into band. Right. So it was good. It worked out well.
I mean, I think you'd be a great tuba player.
I don't know. I have a feeling I would like climb inside it or something like that. One of my good friends growing up, he played the tuba, and I think he solely picked it based on comedic value. He was like, "It's big, it makes fart sounds, so I'm gonna keep this thing."
I feel like the weirdest one in middle school was the people that had to play the French horn.
Yeah. They're all, I don't know, it is kind of a crazy thing. It's like, we're going to take all these kids and dress you in a way that nobody dresses, make you march regimented in a regimented way. And I don't know.
So why do you think you didn't just quit?
It's just in me. Like, this music kind of informs everything I do, even to an extent that I didn't realize before. But like pretty much everything I respond to has music involved. And I listen to, I know a lot of people say they listen to all kinds of music, but I for real just any era, any style, like I can probably find something of value that clicks with me there. And then I obsess over it and stuff. So yeah, even, the comedy I like, the movies I like, they either incorporate music or they've got like a rhythm to them or something like that. I think it's just innate in me.
So you got an electric guitar at the same time that your brother got his drum set. Mm-hmm. And what did that lead to? Like, what was the next thing?
So once I got to high school, I started, it got a little weird because my brother and I hit an age difference where, at that point in time, it's pretty different. Like, the difference between if an 8-year-old, or well, maybe like a 10-year-old is hanging out with a 6-year-old, if you're brothers, like that's not that weird. But if I'm 16 and he's 12, that's a very different experience,
Right.
And so he started playing with a friend of his, and then I started playing with some other friends of mine, and started a band in high school that started getting a bit of a following in our area and stuff. And then once he got a little bit older, not even much, like probably by the time he was like 14 or 15, he basically became like a part of our group of friends. And then he started drumming for us not long after that. So we were playing shows all around town. He used to, we have a lot of stories where he would play some bar that we had booked or whatever on a Sunday night. He'd be, reeking of cigarettes and up until 1 a.m. playing shows and stuff from being in this place, and then just go home and crash for a couple hours and then go to school the next day, just like exhausted and stinking and stuff. But he just like thought it was the coolest thing in the world because, he's playing with his older brother and his friends and got to play a rock show last night and all that stuff.
Right. So when you were doing when you formed the band and all that, were your parents supportive of that? I know that expectation that you mentioned as a kid, at what point did it shift, or were they always pretty supportive of whatever you guys wanted to do?
Looking back, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. It's kind of hard to sift through what exactly was happening. There were, my mom came to like all of our shows, and she never discouraged us. There was always like a conversation about, is what is the backup plan? Is there a way you could turn this into a career? Because they saw how into it we were. For my dad, it was definitely this should be a hobby and everything. There were a couple of times where he would actually come to shows, and I would remember him getting he was like, wow, I can't believe that was you guys doing that. Like, it would blow him away. And he was like, what can we do? Can we should we start should you guys run a venue, or what do we do with this? And then a week later, it was like, it never happened. So yeah, there was still a lot of pressure to go to school and everything like that. But yeah, I think having that guitar and having the experience of playing collaboratively with my friends, once I got that energy of a live connection and getting a response from the audience, like on top of the collaborative aspect of it, I was gone. Nothing else was going to happen. I was going to take my chances trying to make something happen with it. I just didn't know how to do it at that point in time.
Do you think failing that test was the trigger, or do you think actually stopping and seeing the monkeys on television was the trigger?
That's a
for
good
you?
question. I mean, definitely like when I think of a turning point, it was when I actually played the electric guitar. But in terms of like a lightning bolt moment in my life, the seeing the monkeys on TV definitely is something that has stuck with me and informed everything else I've done.
And I feel like even some of the things that you're doing now, you can see that inspiration. Like you said, even the
Yeah,
wall that you have behind you. And so it's
right.
kind of come full circle from how old were you when you saw that monkeys
Oh, I was probably like 4
performance?
or something. Yeah, 4 or 5, I would bet.
Right. It's so weird how little things like that can influence our entire lives.
Yeah, yeah. Here I am all these years later, like putting that, yeah.
Like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, seriously. The way he talked and everything actually made an impact on me.
Well, honestly, like when I was a kid, Mr. Rogers was my babysitter at times. I'm not saying that my parents weren't watching me, but if my parents, who were separated at the time, needed to do something, it's like, sit you down. This is
Yeah,
wholesome. He's going to teach you. I know how to tie my shoes because of Mr. Rogers.
right, right.
Like I put peanut butter on bananas because of Mr. Rogers. Like there are still things that exist in my life.
I honestly, one of the things that I kind of I don't know if advocate might be too strong a word, but like it's something that's just like a core focal point for me all the time is not to undersell the importance of entertainment, you know, because it really does. It sends people on trajectories. It exposes them to all kinds of things. It's like food and entertainment. That's how there were kids at my school who I later found out were racist or whatever, who had been in bands with me. And so it was like a way that we were able to at least expose them to the fact that some of their preconceived notions of another race were incorrect, you know?
Right.
And we wouldn't have gotten to that point without the music. And same with food. Anytime anybody smelled my dad cooking, it was like, you know, didn't matter what their parents had told them about his religion or anything like that. They were like, I need to go eat that. So
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think those are a big part of culture and they bring people together. And like you said, you're the only person that truly has eclectic taste. So you've probably just gone across the spectrum with that, right?
right. Yeah. I'm the only one.
The only one that listens to everything. Everyone else says they do.
They listen to some things. Yeah. No. No, it's like sometimes I hear people, I'm probably thinking of students right now, but I'll hear people say they listen to everything and then we get into it and they like haven't heard of like, you know, anything from 1920 to like 1995. And I'm like, all right, well, there's more to pull from, but you'll get there. Also, it's also crazy being like half Pakistani and driving around Alabama listening to like outlaw country music from 1965 or something, you know? And part of the way that my dad actually learned English was from watching old reruns of Hee Haw because he actually loves country and bluegrass music. So, you know, it I don't know. It's an interesting way to to process the world, but it's in there.
Well, you just said it. You said that music or entertainment is quite important, and you just pointed that out that your father partially learned English through watching television.
In retrospect, I don't know that anyone should learn English from Hee Haw, but
well, maybe not.
You know, that's what he was working with. He does say y'all sometimes, and it sounds real funny.
You hear it all the time. There are people in other countries that will watch reruns of Friends or something like that just to learn the language.
Right.
Or to learn conversational English, because good luck learning English.
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
We like to make that complicated. So your parents wanted you to do one thing and you were like, no, I want to do something else. Were you able to, before you started teaching, were you able to create a career or make money doing what you loved?
Yeah, at one point. I mean, we had the unfortunate circumstances of being probably born into the wrong era for being able to make more money than we did. But let's see. So I went to college. I tried, you know, I was trying to do what I was quote unquote supposed to do. And it just wasn't clicking. I couldn't get myself like, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. Everything was calling my name to go back and do band stuff. And then the band that I was in, my high school band that kind of carried over into the college years, they fell apart. joined another band that my brother was in, and then we had some success in the MySpace era. We toured the country for a few years and had really legitimate management and booking and things like that. So yeah, we got to, it was highs and lows when you're on the road like that. It's like sometimes you get a really good tour and you're treated really well. Sometimes you're just like, why are we doing this? We should all go back to school. It's high highs and low lows, but it was really fun and it was definitely formative.
Yeah, you said you were kind of born into the wrong era for that, but imagine if you were born into this era trying to do, you are trying to do it now in a different way.
Yeah, like now it's not even in my head. Like the money is not even a thing. Like it's just like, no, it's the money's not going to come. I need to but can't stop making stuff just because it's wired into me. But yeah, at that point in time, there was still, what is that, hope, I guess, that we were kind of sifted through. And then what's even crazier about that is that if we were like 10 years before that, could have had like a multi-million-dollar contract. Like that's how fast it changed,
Right.
We've had people tell us that flat out, like, if this was X year, that like I could get you a deal worth this much money. And I'm like, well, don't tell me that because now I'm just sad.
Yeah, you can have one hit song and then the rest garbage on there, and that's fine. Yeah. Fulfill your record contract.
Seriously, it really is wild how different it is. But yeah, man, it informed everything.
Do you feel that the pressure of creating a career out of it and making successful tours and all that, do you think that hurts or helps the actual content that you're creating? Like do you feel like your songs are better now because that you're not relying on money coming in from it, or do you feel like either way?
No, that's a good question, because that's really been like maybe the main thing I've struggled with my whole life artistically. Also because of that cultural background aspect too, there was always in the back of my head, like nothing that I created ever felt quite good enough or whatever, because the immediate question that followed once I presented it was, well, is it going to make you any money? Is it going to make you any money? Can you turn this into a career? And so there's, it's always kind of coupled with that. And I to be honest with you, I still wrestle with that. I've been like actively working on trying to take that pressure off myself when I create and just create for the sake of doing it. But it is wired in there pretty deeply. So yeah, I've gotten freer with it now. I think it's better now because we've been doing it longer and I've taken in more music since then. And I do think some of that comes with no pressure because I'm like when I was younger, I would learn songs by other people, and I was specifically learning songs that were in the genre that we were trying to break into. And now anytime something catches my ear, I'm like, hey, what was that? Jazz song, blues song, whatever. And it doesn't matter, but it always gives me new tools. So I think that aspect of it has helped. So creating without maybe following more the expectation of just what am I interested in? What'll make me a better player has definitely helped.
Right. Because I imagine if you're an artist, that I'm sure this happens to people that are doing what you do, but you feel like I have to write a song a certain way, or I need to not talk about this topic, or I need to make it sound like this. I feel like that might be a lot of pressure to get a radio friendly, or whatever the words we're using these days are.
Yeah.
That's why I asked, because I bet not having those pressures of this has to get played on the radio, or this has to go here, there, or anywhere, really, I would imagine that the content's better.
Well, there's also the artistic inclination of just resenting having a label slapped on you, where if you bring somebody something that you've been working on and that was really like emotionally driven, and their first reaction is immediately like, well, what category does this fit in? I don't know how to market you, blah, blah, blah. It's never felt good to me. Like I've always kind of bristled at that. And all of my favorite bands, I'm sure you're aware, I'm a huge Beatles nut, and they experiment with all kinds of different sounds. There's no like, you have to be this, you have to be that. They had to get to a point where they could experiment that freely. But yeah, I'll be also totally honest. Another way that this influenced my life is that I had other friends after the band thing kind of fell apart. Other friends of mine went into the music industry, like in terms of working at agencies, working at management companies and stuff like that. I have never applied for a job like that ever, because it makes me feel dirty. I would rather teach young people about like how to navigate that stuff than actually be in it myself.
Right, because you're guided by whatever your company wants you to produce or create, right?
Yeah, it becomes much more about driving numbers and creating a brand for an artist that's going to sell, as opposed to creating a brand for an artist that is based on their personality and interests and things, And it just always felt dirty to me. And I also found that a lot of the personality types that excel in that line of work, and I don't mean to paint with this broader brush, it's not true of everybody. I've got some good friends that work in that world too. But like, there are a lot of personality types in that world that are like, I don't want to be around that dude for very long. He's just a blustery blowhard.
We've been alluding to it, but you have a new band. Well, how new is this? Or tell us a little bit about your current musical endeavors.
The band is called Yeah Sure, and it is me, my brother, another kid named Chris that we grew up across the street from. So he was one of the kids that was playing with my brother, at a very young age, and then started playing with me later on. And then a friend of ours that we met when we were touring in that MySpace band back in the day. And
was that the name of it? MySpace band?
Yeah, we would have more success probably. That band was called The Arrival. But yeah, to your earlier point, this came from a few years back. We were just like, I miss playing, and I miss playing for the fun of playing and creating, So
right.
Let's just rent a practice space, get in a room together, see what happens. And then we ended up really liking the stuff we were coming up with. So we're like, hey, what, like no expectations. Let's just start putting it out there and make whatever catches our interest and be as genuine to the process as we can, man,
Yeah, man.
So we've been having fun with that.
When did you guys start this band?
Maybe 3 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, I think something like that.
Have you released an album or just singles?
We've got an EP. We kind of followed like a singles release model. We've all got full-time jobs, so it definitely slows down our creative process a bit. But we were kind of looking at the full band thing, and it makes it difficult now to, if you release an album, you can only pitch one of those songs to Spotify and, like to get on playlists and stuff like that. So it almost feels like you're wasting a chunk of the album. But yeah, so we did an EP, we did singles, we also like write and direct and produce our own music videos, edit them and everything too. So we've done videos for all of them. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at now.
Do you find that you're enjoying music more in this version of you than when you were a kid?
Yeah, probably. Well, partially. So the part that's missing right now is we don't get to play a lot of shows. Some of that is pandemic related, obviously. Some of it is because of the full-time job thing and stuff. But I loved, a big part of it for me was getting up in front of people and then connecting with people after the fact and everything. So I missed that part of it. But in terms of like just knowing ourselves better and everything like that, yeah, I really enjoy like kind of going that route with it. So the music has kind of been like a core part of all of my interpersonal dynamics, from when somebody, like everybody in my band, I'm usually like really close friends with. And then by extension, we become friends with their significant others and things like that. So, my wife, I met at a show. My wife, you know her, but she does not go to shows. She does not like loud music. She's completely the opposite of what you would think probably a musician's wife would be like in terms of like her taste and reaction to concerts and stuff. But her brother played bass for a band that was in the same scene as us. And it turns out that he was super into us, and he encouraged her and one of her friends to go to our show one night. And so this was back in the days of guest books on websites. She hit us up on the guest book afterwards, and then I followed up, because I was interested, and that's what guest books are for, right? No, but we started talking that way, and then, ended up dating, and now we've been together for years and years.
So she should go to your parents and thank them for buying you an electric guitar, or not thank them.
Right. She should curse the day that they gave me an electric guitar. No, but it even got me in well with her family, like, because her brother apparently was very, like, didn't care for anyone that she dated beforehand, but because he liked our band, he was like, I think he actually told her to date me. So like, there's that got me in the door, and now she's best friends with my brother's fiance, and obviously, like, the band plays into that too. So it all kind of has this one common denominator. It all points back to the music, I think.
No, it's so interesting to hear stories where people are able to curate some sort of life on something they truly enjoy, because you said, you went to college, you did the check mark, but you couldn't really figure out what it was you really wanted to do. And I would say that there's a huge percentage of people that's reality for people, to just go to college, graduate, still not know what you want to do, right? You have this education. So it's interesting to hear your story, that you were able to create a life that revolved around music as much as possible. And now you are taking what you learned in the real world, if you will, and teaching other people that have similar aspirations to kind of create their own life using it.
Right. Yeah, and I guess the other part of that is that it got me my job. If I wasn't a musician, I wouldn't have the particular job that I have. And I pull way more from my experience playing music, being in bands, being in the music industry, and all that. I pull a lot more from that in class than I do from, like, my degree. So,
right.
I needed all that experience. So it gave me my job. It gave me my wife, pretty much all my friends, a lot of good memories and stuff. It's all tied to the same thing.
Right. And probably a stronger connection with your brother.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We speak the same language in those regards. And, we've played together so long now that it feels like an extension of, like, I don't even think about it sometimes. I'm just, he knows what I'm about to do here. Here it goes, so it's like having extra arms.
That's not weird at all. Well, you know what? It's interesting too, because this is probably the perfect kind of job for someone like you too, right? Because you probably didn't want to go and work in a corporate office of some sort, just pushing papers around. But this gives you the opportunity. Of course, you do have administrative tasks that you have to complete, but the other part, the majority of your job, is to share the what not to do, or how to turn something good, or turn some passion into something real.
100%. It's, I mean, what it's like, it's being in the classroom. There are some people that were very much like I was back then, that are just there because they feel like they're supposed to be there. They don't really, maybe they don't care. They don't know what's going on. But then every now and then you kind of lock eyes with one of the students that is, like, hungry for it. And, I'll tell them everything I know if they want. Anything that'll help them navigate it, because I felt like I was just, like, floating around without a compass for so many years and had no idea. I didn't even know how to get out of Alabama at that point in my life. All I knew was that I wanted to make music. And if someone was like, you should play a show in Birmingham, we were like, okay, that's what we'll do now, but I needed some kind of guidance. So being able to give that back.
Do you think that you would have listened, though, if you were that, do you think you would have to go through that? Do you think you're better off having gone through what you went through? Or do you think you would be better off now had you had access to the internet and all these other pieces?
The internet, I'm not so sure. Maybe just because I definitely learned better on YouTube. I was thinking about this the other day. This is crazy, talking about those old guitar lessons when I first got my electric. This was so long ago, or maybe it's not even that long ago, but everything just changed so fast. But if I wanted to learn a song, I would bring the song to my guitar teacher. He would spend an entire lesson, sometimes multiple lessons, picking it out note by note, writing it down and everything like that. So sometimes, like, 4 weeks went by before I could even start learning how to play it. Like, actually, pick up my guitar, start learning how to play it. Now with YouTube, I'd probably know thousands of songs just because they're, like, right there for you. So that would have helped for sure. I would have been a better player faster. But the other part of your question, I don't know. I don't know if maybe I was a weird kid or not, but I was looking for it. If I could have found a mentor that understood the entertainment industry that I actually like trusted enough to take their advice, I was like searching high and low for that and just never found it. I think a lot, and that kind of soured me on the music industry a lot too. Because looking back on some of the meetings that we had and everything, the way people talked to me, it was never like, hey, I see something in you, here's how we make you better. It was always marketing talk, or like, this is what you should be wearing on stage, or this is, I don't know, this kind of band isn't hot right now, but this one is. And I don't know, just a bunch of weird subjective opinions that didn't have anything to do with actually helping, really.
Well, I mean, I think you describe your teenage years quite differently than mine. I feel like I was just like on some self-directed path that I, whatever anyone said, I was like, okay, sure, that's what's next. I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
Well, I think I kept doing that, but I was looking for the right person from that industry to or with some kind of entertainment experience. But instead, what ended up happening was like I went to the University of Alabama, and then like I worked at restaurants, and then I went and got a business administration degree just because people kept telling me, this is what you should do. This is what you should do. And I was like, all right, But the whole time I was thinking like, I wish I was in the back of a tour van right now, or I wish I was in the studio right now.
Can you picture any other life had you not got the electric guitar? Like, what do you think you'd be doing?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess I'd be single, so that'd be different. I wouldn't have met Ashley. That would have been weird.
Yeah.
No, without the electric guitar, I honestly, I can't. I don't know. I think I would have found a way to it somehow. I think I was just too drawn. The only other thing I can think of is I've always enjoyed writing. I wrote a screenplay for the first time last year, and I maybe would have like leaned harder into some form of writing, maybe comedic writing or something like that. But again, I don't know anything about that industry either. I definitely didn't then. So I might have been just as lost.
Yeah. That's interesting. I find it, I can't relate. I feel like not that anyone in my life told me that I had to do certain things, but I don't think I've ever had a passion as strong as yours for playing music or just being in music,
Yeah.
That drove you to do that. Cause I feel like I've probably more common my way to just kind of next step, do what's next. So I admire that you were able to curate something that is so passionate for you. It's cool.
That's cool. I've had that conversation with Ashley as well. And at times I almost feel bad because people will say, like, hey, I wish I had something that drove me, that strongly. And I just try to remind them that the other side of it is that it drove me crazy sometimes because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I knew it wasn't making me money or meeting family expectations or whatever, So there were times where I felt like a big disappointment as a result of it, but I can't turn it off. So I just had to figure out another way to make money from it and, accept my fate, settle into it.
But I think that's the same for those of us on the other side, is that we lost our minds trying to figure out what's next or what we should actually be doing, or is this the right path? Yeah. So I guess we're all alike in that way, in that either we're driven by something or driven by nothing, but yet we still drive ourselves crazy.
And none of us know what the hell to do or where to go, or we all just want help. Looking back in retrospect, I wish someone had told me when I was like maybe 19 and like really pushed it to get whoever it was that I was going to collaborate with that was on board for this, but to like pack up and go to whatever city has the music scene that you want to break into, go be a part of that and start then. Because by the time that I realized that's what I should have done, I like had too many responsibilities and not enough money to be able to.
So I guess it goes to just for anyone listening that's super passionate about something, is just take those chances and take the risks and do it now and do it quick and, make things happen.
Yeah. There's always that conversation of like, I can't do it because I'm going to be 25 next year, or I'm going to be 35, or, whatever it is. Like, but you hear people say that and they're dead serious. They're like, oh, I'm too old to be doing it. And it's like, no, look, you're going to be that age either way. So why not spend the time in between? Yeah. Like, I mean, hopefully if things go well, you will get to that age. Why not, do what you were hoping to do, like on the way there. And I don't know, and find another aspect of this kind of is inspired for me that ties into my class too, is I've got like a huge interest in music history and all the different characters and musicians and everything like that. I pull from it a lot. And I think part of the reason for that is I'm always looking for answers. Like, what did they do at this point in their career? Why did they turn left when they could have turned right? And I just find a lot of them fascinating stuff. And I always tell my students that there are blueprints out there, but you kind of have to dig for them because they don't teach this stuff in public schools, I guess.
Well, and to that, it's kind of like stay curious and never stop learning, because there's always something new that you can add to your quote unquote tool belt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I think there's something to be said for you being able to really create a life that revolves around music, and then finding an additional career that allows you to do that, but also affords you the time to dabble in the world that makes you so very happy. So I think it's inspirational.
I feel lucky for sure. I touch base with that. When I was a kid, all I wanted was to like make enough money to live comfortably and to be able to like make music with my friends. And so anytime I get frustrated now, I kind of remind myself, I'm like, hey, you're in a pretty good situation, man. Like, you don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just make the stuff you want to make.
And you're doing it. And I think it's cool to watch and see you guys develop. And I love that you guys are doing it all on your own, creating opportunities with the videos that you guys are doing. And
yeah, it's all
figuring out the new world of music.
Yeah. It is weird. Every time like a new platform pops up and you go, all right, guys, I guess we got to get on TikTok now. What does that mean? Let's move everything from here to there.
Are you on TikTok?
But it keeps dying. We just actually started posting a lot of stuff, and my brother has a very specific sense of humor that I love, and so we've been letting him kind of go crazy with TikTok, and he's been cracking me up with the stuff he's been posting on there. So
I feel like you and your brother are made for TikTok, at least in the interactions that I've seen and the humor that you guys share. So
that's cool. Yeah, maybe this will be. I don't know. I never put too much stock in the platforms because I was there, besides just our band, some of our good friends were in bands that were huge on MySpace, like quote unquote stars on MySpace. And that died. I mean, it felt like that died in like 2 weeks and they didn't know where their fans were anymore, So I'm just like, all right, I'm always wary of the platforms. But if you look at it as sort of a medium and an art form that's an extension of what you like to do anyway, I find I gravitate to those kinds of, that kind of content, quote unquote.
Well, that's how I feel. That's why I think TikTok aligns with what you guys do and what you guys create. It feels like an opportunity for you. I don't know enough about TikTok, but agreed. Don't do things and don't put all your eggs in one basket.
You don't have a secret account where you're doing dances and challenges and stuff?
I can't even do the floss. So, I mean, let's just
do the floss.
I can't floss. I can do my teeth.
Yeah.
But that's how old I am.
I get in trouble. The floss might be the only, the floss.
Sorry.
Why does that sound so weird? It sounds like the blob. That dance might be the only one that I actually was able to do. And then Ashley banned me from doing it in the house.
That's sad.
I still do it when she turns around.
You're just standing in the corner. Nobody's watching, but there's Alex doing
this is
flossing
just for
over
me.
in the corner.
The purest expression of my art.
Oh, all right, my friend. I appreciate you sharing your story. I think that people can learn from, if something is really driving you, keep going, push through those hard moments and create something for yourself that's going to bring you joy on a regular basis, and don't just abandon it because something gets a little bit hard. Would you say the same?
If you've got something that is as clear to me as it was that music was a part of me, there's no point in ignoring it. You're just going to keep going back to it. So lean into it, turn it into, and the way things are now, everything is so like niche specific and everything that just find your people and yeah, lean. I feel like it's better to lean harder into that than to try to fit yourself into these other structures that exist out there that don't have anything to do with you. So,
and do it for more for the passion than trying to be famous and those kind of pieces. I think you'll probably find more fulfillment.
Oh yeah. And it comes across too, if you're doing something that you're not passionate about, like people know. Yeah. And if you're, I think for better or for worse, people can tell what I'm passionate about probably within 5 minutes of talking to me. So, and it's gotten me work and it's gotten me friends. And so, I don't know what my point was there. Just bragging that I had friends, I guess.
Well, congratulations on your friends. And
thank you.
I'm happy that you are one of my friends, and I appreciate you being on this podcast. It means a lot for you to share your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. For sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's good seeing you again. Good talking to you. It's been a long time.
Right. Well, maybe, when this pandemic is over in about 5 years or so, we can all get together in person with our hazmat suits on. You've just listened to the Life Shift podcast. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. For more information about how you can support the Life Shift podcast, please visit www.thelifeshiftpodcast.com. See you next time.